Hello, gentlemen.
Hello.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having us by. We love your place.
No, we're glad you're here. You guys rocked the fuck out of this place last time you played here.
I know. I still get like Snapchats and Insta messages from fans who are like drinking on a Friday and they'll pull it up on YouTube on their TV and just be like, I love this one.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's true.
And with this idea that, you know, it's community and it's friends and it's different. And I like the fact that you were up for it. And that whole Motown set was wild.
Yeah. It's a great time.
So fun. Congrats on the new record.
Thank you.
How do you feel about it?
We're stoked.
We're stoked. We kind of just want to get it out there so we can start playing the songs.
Yeah.
You know, kind of having to hold back right now.
Walk us through some of the songs, because is it fair to say that there's a different effort put into the writing? Not more or less, but a different effort?
Yeah, I think we're always trying to, I mean, simply put, just make our own ears tingle. You know, it's like, when are we going to find that moment in the studio where we're like, oh, and you kind of get a smile on your face because you're searching for something that just feels a little new. And I think on this record, you know, with the song like Relentless, we worked off a sample for the first time, which is a new
South African sample?
Yeah.
Chico?
Yeah. The song my dad showed me, and then I made a voice memo and I sent it over to Mike. And he chopped it up, and then the band started working on it all together.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, I think we're always trying, in the confines of being in a 5-piece rock band, to like really push ourselves to make something that feels relevant in 2018.
How do you take a South African sample and make it seem like it fits?
Well, you know what? I like to find just commonalities between songs. You know, I think a lot of times people look to find differences in genres, and but for me, it's like, I remember this Paul Simon quote was that the first time he heard African music, it reminded him of 1950s rock and roll. Yeah. And so he just hears the similarities. So when I heard that song, I was like, oh, there's something exotic about this for sure, but there's something that sounds really familiar to me as well. And just always looking for like new things to get inspired by.
Grammys aside, he got a lot of grief for that.
I know he did.
Yeah.
But I think we're richer for having that record.
Graceland, 100%. Yeah, 100%. There's a difference between appropriating and honoring.
Sure.
And homaging, right?
Yeah.
So was it a challenge to make that work? To find the commonalities in that?
No, that was the thing. It was just like, my dad showed me the song, and because he loved it, he was like, I listen to this when I'm on my exercise bike. It fires me right up. And so I heard it and I was like, I can just start singing over this. Like I just started humming my own melody over top of the bed track. And then from there, it's like the rest of the band just like made it into the sort of this Peter Gabriel 80s inspired rock jam.
Yeah. Some like heavy guitar on it here and there. It's like amazing what you can do in a really short time now with technology. Yeah. So like by the time, you know, Max sent it over to me, and then he was probably over at my house like a few hours later, and I had chopped it up, and then we were like laying guitars down and stuff, and some of that stuff made it onto the record, like a lot of that initial 3 hours of working on the song. So
cool.
That's I think, if the process has changed, I think we're just more comfortable with like just diving in and just, I mean, it's very possible that it couldn't have worked, and we could have been like, what were we thinking with a South African sample?
I think it worked. Let's play the song.
I think so too, yeah.
We'll play it. It's Relentless. It's Strombo Show. Max and Mike Arkells are here. You're not new at this anymore.
Yeah, it's weird to think that we're not the new guys in town.
Like, not even, like, you have a bunch of records.
Yeah.
Do you have different expectations and different requirements for something to feel like a success?
We'll edit out the silence as we think about it.
I think that probably naturally we do have higher expectations of where, not necessarily how the songs are going to do or anything like that. Maybe it's just the possibilities are just opened as you start to do it more and more. So you're always kind of like, where could this thing end up? You know, you kind of get surprised by where you hear it and see it and how somebody connects to it. So to me, I feel like I just try to keep myself open to it more than I did before, where we had no expectations of anybody ever even listening to it when we first started.
Right.
Yeah, I definitely think that there are plenty of times throughout the band's career where we feel like we're kind of spinning our wheels. We're like, is this thing moving in the right direction?
Like recently?
Oh, of course, all the time. Yeah, you're always thinking about like, I really hope we can get to that next level, whether that's the show in Calgary or whether that's the show in St. Louis. Like each thing is relative. And what you got to always remember is like if you're putting in the good work and you're being really thoughtful about the performances and you're working with talented people who care,
right,
just trust the process a little bit. That trust that like I know it feels like you're spinning in your wheels and it feels like being in this game in the first place is an insane thing to do. It's like the odds are against you, but just trust that it's like if you keep working hard, you'll be able to turn around in a couple of years and go, oh yeah, we're actually further along.
It's also an interesting philosophical place to be in, I think, because there's this idea that we can just will things to happen. But when your existence isn't go to work, fill out these forms and leave, you can't just will things to happen.
No.
That's not real, right?
No.
Like there's a lot of other factors. There are other people. What's the headspace at? Who knows, right?
Yeah, you definitely need a little bit of time and luck on your side. And so for us, again, it's just like, are we doing everything that we can do to make sure that the songs are heard and that we're like performing the songs as best as we can and we're writing the best possible songs? And from there, you kind of cross your fingers.
What's the song on this record where you feel like you were the most in that headspace?
You know what? On that note, there's a song, Eyes on the Prize. And the lyric in the chorus is, reach out, you got the real deal right in front of you. I keep my eyes on the prize, baby. I keep my eyes on the prize. Reach out, it could be better than a fantasy. I keep my eyes on the prize. And that song, I was reading, in my moments of anxiety, I try to read some good mindfulness books. Yeah. And it's about that. It's to just appreciate the thing that's literally right in front of you. You could reach out and touch it. And like, then there's no use in worrying about what happened yesterday, and there's nothing you can do to control tomorrow. Just try to appreciate the moment you're in right now. And that song is really a meditation on that idea.
Here it is, Arkells on the Strombo Show. And just being able to say, keep your eyes on the prize, baby, it's got to be fun as a front person, right?
Oh, it's the best, yeah. Keep your eyes on the prize, baby.
I mean, the idea of a rally cry, the idea of getting everybody together, that's been a big part of your band to begin with, is that this is about a collective experience. Chris Taylor, our mutual friend and business associate, was so excited about your big Hamilton show, and I watched his social media, and I watched that experience thing. I was out of town, but I'm watching it like, that's a real moment of togetherness. What did that feel like?
Well, it was sort of the best representation of what we've always been trying to go for in this communal thing, where it's not about a band up on a pedestal. It's about like everybody bringing their best spirit to the show.
Yeah, it was a real like team effort from our team, but then also just the people who came. Like, it was just a really positive event. I feel like everybody left kind of just feeling good about the community in Hamilton and where things could go in that city and how big and how fun it could get.
But as young men, knowing that you were boys there and to stand on that stage and to look out, were you able to be present?
We tried to.
Yeah, for me, it probably came in flashes of presence. And then it went back to just like all the blinking lights on the ground that you have to step on and what's the next song.
Were you nervous at all?
Probably more so than a normal show. I feel like, for me, always the nervousness has been sort of cured by the fact that I'm doing it with other people.
Yeah.
Like, I think if it was like walking out there by myself, I would probably have a heart attack. But the fact that you're kind of, there was 12 people going out on stage to make this show happen, and you just kind of get on the train.
Yeah, it really feels like a team effort. Like, and I love sports, and I love thinking, but it's like, we got the band, and then we got the Northern Soul Horns, and we got the Arquettes, and we got our crew that are like the best in the biz. It's like, how could it go badly, right?
Yeah,
like it's gonna be okay.
Even if you mess up, you have so much faith in the other people around you that you're just like, they're gonna pick it up.
It'll be fine.
Yeah.
And some of the greatest rock and roll moments ever, somebody screwed up.
Yeah, I almost look forward to those.
Yeah. There's Otis Redding had a show live in Sunset Strip back in the day that was never released because one of the horns was out of tune. And when you listen to it now, who cares?
Yeah. You feel the energy.
Yeah, it sounds incredible. Let's play this song and come back and talk about this. All right, so one of the first times that we ever worked together was when you played in our broom closet. You covered The Clash.
Yeah.
And you know how I feel about Joe and Johnny Appleseed. And so there's a Joe Strummer influence on a lot of what you do, but specifically on that song we just played.
Yeah, so Hand Me Downs, first track off the record. We went to the UK in the spring for a month of shows with Frank Turner. And we had a couple more songs to record when we got back to finish off the record. And the first night we got to London, we had a day off, and we saw Arcade Fire at Wembley, and we're like, oh man, like this is incredible. And every song just gave me goosebumps. And Mike and I went together, and it was just like that experience. And they're a very communal band too. It's sort of the sum of the parts. And so we had that memory in our mind, and then we toured with Frank, and every night seeing that communal experience happening. And I was like, we need a song. We need songs like that. Like, I think that's what's missing from the record. But then I was listening. I was going for a jog in these various British towns, and I love Johnny Appleseed by Joe Strummer, solo record in the Mascaleros. And there's a hook in the chorus where and I was like, okay, that's what's gonna launch the chorus for this thing that I have in my head. And then I remember us working out the song backstage, like at one of the Frank shows, just like acoustically, and we're like, okay, this has the bones of just like of a good song. And then we got home and we worked at the arrangement, and it was recorded within a few days. Yeah.
So some songs are a joy like that. Like, you know that it, like, you almost can't totally mess it up. It's like there's something there that if you just follow it, it'll be fine.
It'll be fine. You talked about when the things you do and the things you read when you're trying to keep your anxiety, at least, I don't know if you can keep it at bay.
Sure.
But if you can manage it.
Yeah.
Right? You deal with mental health issues on this record too, don't you?
Sure, yeah. Only for a Moment is a song about a friend who I knew was whose family was struggling with a family member who was going through some really terrible mental health issues. And I just knew the weight the whole family was feeling during those months. And I was out with her, and she was just she was singing karaoke. She was having like a great time. And it was that moment in the night where I could tell she just wasn't thinking about the rest of her life. And I just think those moments of reprieve are just so important. And I've written about that in the past, like in Come to Light. It's like the underpass would keep us from harm. It's like that moment when you're driving through a rainstorm and you get that one moment of silence when you're going under an underpass, and just even if it's just for a second, you'll take it. You know, you'll take those little moments. And that's what this song's about.
We'll play it. It's Arkells and the Strombo Show. Max and Mike are here from Arkells. It's always nice to have you guys in the house. Tell me about the idea about going for it. This idea of, okay, so we've got some success, but if you want more audience, how do you do that? Like, because you know what works.
Sure.
How do you do that?
I think that's probably a question we struggle with from time to time. Like, especially as things are very rapidly changing in the sort of music business, like where's the place for us to grow? And I mean, for us, the most reliable way, I think, is just playing shows and getting really close to the audience and making those really personal connections in different cities and different music communities. I mean, the downside of that is, like, it's a lot of work. You know, it's a lot of travel, but we love it. So for me, I think that if I had to, like, put my money on one of them, it's like showing up in town and playing a great show and making a real memory. And I think whether or not that's the fastest way, it's probably the most, like, has the most, like, permanence or the most, like, ability to hold people.
Yeah, and I think I always keep in mind this thing our longtime booking agent Jack Ross said to me. He said, some bands play for their bands watching them. Let me say that again. Some bands play for their friends watching them side stage and really only care about their opinion. And some bands play for the crowd. And he told me that a long time ago, and it's something I keep in mind because it's very easy to go, okay, what's the cool guy think of me? But that's not who you're performing for. You're performing for the people who came to the show and actually bought a ticket. And I think that's the way of going for it, is not to be too concerned about whatever idea you think the cool kids are projecting on you, which is probably a figment of your imagination
100%.
anyway.
It's not real.
It's not even real.
You know, this I don't know if you guys have seen him live, but we've all seen a lot of concerts, and one of the greatest things I've ever experienced was only a handful of years ago, was at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena when Coldplay took the stage. I love Coldplay, always have. And I know the cool guys are like, oh, fuck Coldplay, but they forget that when Coldplay started, Coldplay were the cool guy band from England that no one think was going to work. Because Travis, they weren't sure about that either, right? Yeah. And so I'm in my 40s, losing my mind at every song. There were people in their 80s losing their mind. There were the alternate kids there losing their mind. There were kids there to see Alicia Cara losing their mind. And then there were 2-year-olds in their parents' or grandparents' hands with furry elephant hats on losing their mind. And I knew that those guys wrote those songs. They put every ounce of their energy into the performance. And I thought, this is the best band in the world.
Yeah, what more could you ask for?
What else you want?
Yeah.
Right? And they got their songs on the radio, and you can believe in the front person.
Yeah.
And you could believe in them and go, I think this is a fucking, but that experience was, and it's so rare to get that experience, especially for artists who, a bunch of friends sat in a room and wrote those songs.
Yeah.
And it's cool. So I guess Coldplay's an inspiration in some way.
Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I have a sucker for anybody who's earnest and who gives a fuck.
Me
It's
too.
like
Me too,
that's really what it comes down to. So it's like, we saw a bunch of great shows this summer. We saw Bruno Mars. I saw Jay-Z and Beyonce. We saw Arcade Fire. And the thing that was the connective thread between all those bands is that they all care. They just care. And they want to put on something incredible and special and unique, and they want people to leave with a memory. And that's the same reason why I love Bruce Springsteen, the same reason why I love Chance the Rapper.
Yeah.
It's because they care.
I think you hit the right word. It's earnest.
Yeah.
And we reached an era where everybody thought earnest was bad, but I don't know anybody who wasn't earnest that was great. Even those punk guys were really earnest, man.
Well, when you get into the bones, like even the cool, like Mick Jagger, coolest dude ever. That guy cares. That's right. No one cares more than that guy.
That's right. What's the Stone song that moves you the most?
Ooh, Mike, what do you think? Mike's.
That's a tough one. I mean, this is like Can't You Hear Me Knocking is like one of those songs, like as a guitar player, that's like, song. There's a bunch of them. Like, I like Monkey Man a lot. That's
both of those songs, Keith's just behind the beat, right?
Yeah.
That's what blows my mind about that.
As a guitar player, like listening to those, and you're just kind of like,
can you play it? Can you play it?
No, I can't. I think that's no. There was a time when I did, but it's always one of those things that's like, it's like 3 weeks just in case I go into a guitar store. I got like that on lock. Yeah. And then but then it's gone. I have a mind like that.
Let's play that song. We're hanging out with Max and Mike Arkells. They've got a new record. Let's play a couple of songs that were inspirational to you for this album.
Oh, sure. Oh, man. I was thinking we have a song called Saturday Night, and there's a lot of songs written about Saturday Night. That subject's been, I think, pretty well worn.
None better than the Bay City Rollers, of course.
Well, this is it.
Yeah.
My old roommate Greg said you have to integrate that part of the Bay City Rollers thing into your live version of it. It's going to make it into a live version. But we wanted a song that sort of had like a feel-good like 80s quality, whether it was like Jack and Diane or, Hungry Heart. Like one of those kinds of songs that just like you could kind of put on loop for 20 straight minutes and it just feels good. And that was the vibe we went for on this one.
Nice. Yeah. We'll play that. What I was driving, this is going to sound like a beginning of a commercial, but I was driving in my El Camino on the Ventura Highway.
Carry on. What else?
And I listened to Pink Houses by John Mellencamp.
Yeah, right.
And I thought to myself, there's a whole generation of people who are sleeping on this in the way they talk about the great songwriters of the 70s or 80s. John Mellencamp is unbelievable as a songwriter.
He's got some hits up his sleeve.
So Jack and Diane was the big one for you as a kid?
I mean, there's so many good examples of that era of just like really feel good 80s sort of guitar driven music. Yeah.
That just makes me think of, there's a funny part in Jack and Diane where he uses the phrase sucking down chili dogs.
Yeah. Sucking
down chili dogs, which is like just so absurd. Anyway, on YouTube, somebody just made like a loop of that where it's just the song called, it's just sucking down chili dogs, and it's just that on loop, which I can only imagine it really pisses him off.
Let's play some Jack and Diane on the radio show. We should do that. Where are you going next musically in terms of, is there something you're listening to now that's out of your traditional wheelhouse that you can feel growing roots inside you?
Oh, sure. Good question. I mean, we're always inspired by what's happening like just in modern music with like pop and hip hop and to see what's happening in that world. I don't know how it'll make its way into our music, but I'm really into this record by the singer-songwriter named Emma Louise, and she just put a new record, Lilac Everything.
Dude, the tuned down voice.
It's crazy.
Yeah. After you recommended, I was listening to it all weekend. Yeah.
That's one of the best records I've heard in ages because we'll play again actually, but because I listened to it all of last week, and she just made her voice sound so much deeper. It's incredible.
It's like, it's otherworldly.
Yeah.
It's like, is this a guy? Is this a girl? And then I looked into it. And Tobias Yester Jr., who we love, he produced the record, Canadian. Yeah. And Sean Everett, who's one of our favorite mix guys, who's also Canadian, he mixed it. And I texted Sean. I was like, dude, this is nuts.
It's so nuts. Yeah. I like it. Let's play some of that.
Yeah.
That's cool. What's the tour plan for this record?
Oh, we're about to stay busy. We're going to the States, and we're headlining UK and Germany in November, and we're announcing a big Canadian run in February, and it's going to be our biggest headline shows to date. So we're really excited about that.
All across the country?
All across the country.
You're announcing in February, or you're doing it in February?
We're doing it in February. We're announcing it the day the record comes out.
Buses on these cold highways.
Yeah.
That's the way to do it, right?
Oh man, I don't think I can do another van trip through the Rocky Mountains.
No, I feel like we did enough.
we paid our dues.
For sure. So February. So then we'll make sure we repeat this interview in February as well, so that it gets noticed. Where did the record start? Do you have like a? He was playing me. I'd asked him about one of the records when I interviewed him, and he was at a piano, and he just said, "Just because I'm losing, doesn't mean I've lost." He goes, "That's all he had," and that was the beginning of a Coldplay record. How did this start for you?
I was trying to think, what was one of the early songs? We did a lot of them's on the piano, to be honest, but
Maybe like
dressed up, you got your hair done up for the first time in a couple weeks. You choked up from a real good punch. You got some color back in your cheeks. You keep a picture on the wall of your family. You keep a journal to reflect. You keep a picture on the wall of your family. Your secrets close to your chest. If only for a moment tonight. You're not looking over your shoulder. If only for a moment tonight. I dipped you low and we both fell over. At karaoke we were trading each verse. You wore my jacket and I carried your purse. For a moment tonight, if only for a moment, yeah, we could feel alright. And I love this. These are the Fleetwood Mac chords, the F to G, just back and forth.
Yeah.
It's
so satisfying.
Thunder only happens when it's raining. Just
so
the
good.
back and forth. Yeah.
You know what's funny about that Rumors record is that everybody was breaking up with each other at the time that they
I know.
made that record. Right?
I know.
Marriages were ending. Everything was fucking going wrong.
And so when you hear those, you're like, oh, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Totally. Good to see you guys.
Great to see
Thank
you.
you.